All right, we're in the broadcast room, and right now we're going to talk through the SQ6 mixer, which is an Allen and Heath mixer. This is the physical control of this unit. I'm going to talk a few things about this one only, and then we will, there's videos that talk about using the SQ MixPad app on a computer or an iPad that go through a little bit more detail on how you do things. This video, like most of the other videos on this page, are not designed to replace a user manual or some tutorial videos that you can get from the manufacturer on how to do things, just to give you some specifics on how Lutheran West is set up with it. But I will give you a couple tips as we go. On any digital mixer, you are dealing with a couple of different things. First off, on the right side, we've got these areas that say Mix Select. And it's so important that you know what you're on when you're using this mixer, because if I'm on LR, that's my main mix, and now all these faders correspond to that main mix. But if I come back over here and I hit 1, I'm now mixing auxiliary mix number 1. So if I'm going, how come I can't hear this person, and I'm fading it up, but I'm on mix 1, it's because that's leaving through a separate output. So be aware, what are you trying to be on here? LR is what you want to be on. Now on this mixer, unlike the one in the yoga room, we've got a special situation. This LR button is red, and it's telling us that we're actually seeing a listen bus on this. That's a setting within the interior of this. And what that means is that the volume knob right here is not actually changing the master volume output that goes over to our ATEM switcher. It is only adjusting how much we hear out of these speakers. So our master fader should be set so that it's comfortable for us to listen to this, but we want all the individual faders to be up toward the top because we want to have a nice strong signal. And you might see that going on in the metering right here. So it's really important to know where you're at right here on the LR. Next thing about digital mixers, we've got all these layers. Layers A, B, C, D. And we've got different things in these layers. By default, layer 1 has the first 24 channels. Layer 2 has some more channels plus some stereo channels. On the SQ6, we've got 24 faders. Down in the yoga room, we've got an SQ7 that has 32 faders. But it actually has the same internal processing for every single thing. Layer C has the outputs and groups and some overall effects, sends, and returns. Now with any mixer, we're going to go ahead and realize that when we turn it on, when we're processing, you have to select and tell what you're trying to affect. So all these buttons on the side can be assigned to a channel, and there's stuff on the screen as well, but you have to select what channel you're working on first. So if I wanted to work on what was going on studio number 2, there's studio number 2. I select the button there, and now all of these buttons here become live for that information. Or here under the processing button is where you're going to see most of this stuff. Now if I tap on, say, this box, which is the EQ, I can go in and adjust the EQ from here. This little button right here is got a little internal glowy knob. If I tap on any individual channel, like for instance my high-mid frequency, I'll tap on that. It became yellow, and so did this. So now this knob, as I turn it, is going to adjust that parameter. But a lot of this stuff is touchscreen. I could grab and drag this stuff around. The in buttons are important to note. That in button right there, or the in button for the EQ, is actually up there. If I turn that one off, it turns it off here. If that button's not on, it means that even though you're EQing things, it's not being processed by the signal. So it's like it's off. So those in buttons need to be on for compressors, gates, high-pass filters, or EQ. Otherwise, you don't actually hear those things. And I'm not going to teach you a whole lot about anything else. In here, the scenes button is probably something to look at. So if you hit the scenes button, you can recall a scene and create different changes for the way things go. And I have a separate video on I/O and what inputs and outputs it's receiving and sending. That's very important. Look at the patching video if you don't understand it. Most of the time it's just going to be the way that you want to use it. But when you have a more powerful person, you can go in there and adjust those things. Now, a couple other buttons to note. On the left side right here, we have a copy and a paste and a reset button. These are all really cool. If I wanted to copy some of the settings from this channel, I'd hit copy and then select there, and then I'd hit paste and select somewhere else. I can do that with mixes, I can do that with EQ settings, I can do that with compressor settings, I can reset the fader levels. There's a lot you can do with these buttons and push in some other ones. Look at the manual for the SQ to understand how that works. And then the assign, and the pre-fader buttons and the channel to all mix buttons are here as well. If you hold the pre-fader button down, it's going to tell you whether or not on one of these other mixes that aren't the main mix, whether or not it's independent of the main mix or it's a percentage of the main mix. If it's pre-fader, that means it's independent, and if you wanted it to be related to the main mix, you could turn that off. And then the assign button will tell you whether or not that channel is active for that mix at all. So if you're like, hey, I got this channel and it's just not coming through this one spot, it might be unassigned from that mix. I'm going to go back to the main LR. You can assign or unassign things from the main left-right mix too. You don't need to do that in this room. There's a whole lot more to these sound mixers, honestly. So go and watch some of the videos that Alan and Heath put out on how to run it and learn how some of the processing works inside. But otherwise, that'll get you started.